Uh, there you go. Thank you for being a part of our Winter 2 season this year. I'd like to start us with a word of prayer, but thanks a lot for being here. God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to work together, to partner with parents and families and serve kids and serve your families and your kids. We just appreciate the opportunity to do this, and we're thankful for the chance to make a difference. Please be with each one of these coaches throughout the Winter 2 season. Give them an extra measure of grace and patience as they go about leading kids and working with parents. Please give them wisdom and be able to be at their best. Thank you for each one of these people, and help us to have a good time tonight and a wonderful holiday season. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming. I sent all of you a packet, like an email with all of these materials in it. What I would like to do is share a screen with you, and we'll kind of work through it together. But you have each of these materials in your possession so that you can always refer to them or be looking at them at the same time. It's kind of up to you. But I wanted just to make sure that you have these in your possession. So first, in the chat, if you don't mind reaching the bottom of your screen and clicking the chat icon and just typing in your name and then what size shirt I can order for you. So here's your choices. Number one, we have a long sleeve shirt. You can see in the back behind me here. It's like a quarter zip pull up, kind of like this. It will say GR Christian basketball. And so you can get one of these in black or gray, or you can get a polo shirt in black or gray. So just in the chat, write your name, and it can be just to me. Write your name, the type, and the size that you want. And I will make sure to get that ordered for you. Again, it can be a polo, black or gray, or a quarter zip, black or gray. I also have like a blue quarter zip. I don't know if you can kind of see it back there, but it's like kind of like a camo type style that you can get a blue one. So just put that in the chat for me, and we'll make sure we get one ordered for you, style and size. And then I'll save the chat and take care of it. Next thing on here, season dates. We start January 3 and we end on March 4. January 25 to March 4 is the tournament week. So you won't have games scheduled that week when you get your schedule. So people sometimes think the season is over at that time for basketball. But when it comes to basketball, there's still that single elimination tournament happening during that Saturday to Saturday period. So please make sure you remember that. When it comes to volleyball is going to start actually on January 7, which is the Saturday, just like last year. You'll start in your grade levels on the Saturday the 7th, and you guys will participate 7th and 8th grade likely until March 4 as well. 5th and 6th may be a little shorter, we'll have to see. But luckily this year, volleyball, we do have some 5th and 6th grade opponents, so we don't just have to play against ourselves. So that's good news. Moving forward, again, if you have questions, just interrupt me. It's just 8 or 10 of us here, so just interrupt me if you have something that I'm missing. One of the things that we do have to deal with a lot during our basketball season and volleyball season is kids that are in club athletics, because the volleyball season is happening in club athletics for girls, and that often crosses over with basketball, and sometimes there's some indoor soccer for girls that crosses over with basketball. When it comes to volleyball, some of our volleyball players have tournaments, basketball tournaments, travel teams and stuff on the weekends. And so we do have some crossover. Just so that you're clear and I'm clear how we manage that. We don't penalize kids for being on other teams. It's middle school. We want kids to participate. But it is really important to me. We've had some trouble with this year. So follow with me here. But it is important to me that we're clear with parents that we hope to split the conflicts. We hope that if there's 3 practice conflicts and 4 game conflicts, that we can get 1 or 2 of the practices to be for us, and that we can get 2 of the 4 game conflicts to be for us. And I want you to ask for that with parents. and engage in that conversation with them. If you're having trouble with that, just let me know. But that's something that I talk to parents about, that we want to try to split it as best we can. And if somebody does that and they miss a practice and they've told you about it, it's important we don't say like, well, hey, if you miss this practice, you're going to sit out a quarter. Well, if we just told them they could miss, we can't be penalizing them. The difference is, and this is where people have mixed it up, the difference is if someone is not communicating with you that they're going to miss and they're just missing practices, that would be a different situation that you and I could talk about on how to approach that family if they've just stopped communicating and they're missing stuff. That's something that I want to be involved in, helping the parent understand how to do well. Any questions about how we're going to have to share kids kind of throughout this season? I've talked to some of you about some of the kids on your teams already. I've been writing notes down. Like I know Steve's team, we're going to try to not practice on Mondays and Tuesdays whenever possible, just due to a couple of conflicts that his daughter and some other kids have. I know the 8th grade group is going to have some nuanced days just due to kids from other schools, different starting times, things like that. And so, you know, it's something I try to work really hard to make sure works for everybody. So just continue to communicate with me on that too, so we can reduce the amount of conflicts. Other things here, worry about our kids and families. It's really important to me that when we go into competition, we don't worry about the officials. We don't worry about the other coaches and what they're doing. We don't worry about what the crowd is doing, but we just worry about coaching our kids and managing our families well. It's not our job to confront other schools, other athletic directors. That's my job, to confront other athletic directors. If something happens with an official or another team or something very unsportsmanlike or whatever, report it to me. What we do with the league then is I communicate with the AD and the director of the league, which we now have a director of the league finally. And we work on that from our side of things, just like the high school level would do it that way. So please do the same thing with me, but just worry about making sure our kids are doing the right things and putting Christ on display in the right way. And that goes for our coaches too. Leave the officials alone. We have a shortage. Love them. Even if they're the worst official in the world, give them a hug and tell them they're the greatest person ever for letting our kids have a game. You know, just work with them and make sure you have fun. If you're not having fun, the kids definitely aren't having fun. So just remember that. A couple quick reminders. Number 7 here, professionalism, social media, cell phone. When it comes to social media, it's important we don't friend kids that try to friend you. It's important that you make your accounts private while you're coaching. First thing kids are going to do is come look at your accounts. I'm not here to be the social media police, but we do have a professional responsibility to make sure that our accounts are not open to students, you know, joining and that sort of thing. It's just not a good, healthy way for our coaches and kids to interact. When it comes to cell phone, you should never contact the kids with your cell phone. You only need to contact parents at the middle school level. There's really no other way that I can see it being okay than if you contact parents. So please don't do cell phones with kids or any sort of social media going on. The other thing I have with professionalism is making sure we don't blur the lines between leaders and kids. A lot of times I hear nowadays it's like cool for kids to call a coach by the first name. Like, you know, Colin said that I can do this in practice, and Colin said, and I'm just not into that. Like if there's something that, you know, maybe is picky that I ask you to do, it's this. It's that we make sure we make people call us Coach Colin or Coach Dawes, not just Dawes or just Colin, but that we create that even verbal separation between who the person that's in charge is and who our athletes are. That line blurring is not a healthy line. Same thing kind of with the cell phone and social media and all that. We just want to try to keep that separate. So please help me with that as we go. Substitute, what's that?
I'm glad you could pick on me. I appreciate that.
Well, you know, we know each other, so I figured you'd be all right.
No, 100%.
Okay.
I just get brief.
Yeah. When it comes to substitute coaching, there's going to be times where things come up, whether it's sickness or some kind of conflict with a family schedule. The first thing we want to do is work within your coaching team. So every grade that's represented here in volleyball and basketball has another coach at their grade level that is already done with paperwork, has already had background checks, has already had all the things that have to happen, that we want to try to work with our coaches. They also know the kids to some degree and know you, the person they're subbing for. And so we want to try to help substitute for each other, have assistant coaches cover, the other games. But if you can't find a substitute coach, please work with me, because if we just grab a parent or something, that's not good. It kind of violates our HR rules. And so we got to make sure that we get paperwork done on people that help us and volunteer and are in charge of kids and all that. So it's just easier if you work within your teams. Then I'll help you work within, different grade levels. And if we can't find it there, we'll work with a parent, hopefully that has some paperwork on file. So substitute coaching is going to happen. Let me know if you're going to miss, and tell me what your plan is for when you miss. And two, if you need help coming up with a plan, let me know. Okay. Zoom parent meeting. This is something that once our teams are separated, whether it's volleyball or basketball, once you guys do your team formations and separate the teams out, the following week, so the second week of the season, I really would like for you to host a Zoom meeting where you can be in front of parents, talking to them, telling them some things. What I do is I sent you this parent meeting hints sheet, which basically is stuff that I like for you to cover. Some of it is from me, and you can just say, this is from Mr. Bruni, and cover this. Some of it is like, attendance expectations. I want you to read through this and figure out, how are you going to talk to parents about what you're expecting for attendance, and how to talk about, if you miss or something like that. I want you to communicate that to parents. And the reason these things are on here is because, from my experience, if we cover these things, you get less questions and you build trust sooner. Because if you're hitting all the things parents want to know before they have to ask why, we build a lot of trust. So that's the parent meeting. I would like for you to make sure you do that the second week. When it comes to playing time, I want everybody on the same page. We do not have equal playing time. If you choose to do that in a given game, that's totally up to you. It is not an expectation or a requirement that we have equal playing time, for a lot of reasons. If you want to talk to me about that, you can. The guideline I tell parents, and I gave you this sheet right here, so you can browse through our official playing time document in the email. But basically what I say in here is that in 5th grade, it's a little more equal than it will be in 8th grade. Any coach has the freedom to make playing time whatever they want, as long as they follow the Gracie Act rules, which is 6 minutes a game. When it comes to volleyball and the boys volleyball league coaches, there's no playing time requirement. Make sure we play kids, right? There's no requirement there, because it's not a formalized league that we have. But make sure you're playing kids and giving kids opportunities to make mistakes and have some success. So, and when it comes to playing time, most of you have crossed this bridge before, but please make sure you communicate with your parents about that too. I'll hold a Zoom meeting with them to tell them about it, but you also in your Zoom meeting, make sure you talk about how playing time is going to work. I think we have really good team sizes in our girls basketball and in our boys volleyball, so we shouldn't have a ton of problems with this, but it's still important to communicate. When it comes to team formation, you guys are going to take 2 to 3 days to do this in that first week. And it's a short week. It's a Tuesday through Friday, because we don't have school Monday, and we won't play Monday, the 2nd. So everything will start on the 3rd. Take 2 to 3 days, work together. In 5th grade, we're making as equal as humanly possible. In 6th grade, we're making as equal as humanly possible. In 7th grade, I think we're doing equal, because both teams went to the almost the last game last year, and almost everybody's playing again. So we're going to try to do 2 equal and put them both in the A League and see if we can both get to the finals, which will be really exciting. And then in 8th grade, we're going to have an A and a B team for 8th grade. And so we'll have to do that separation. And so I will communicate with you that first week. But one of the things, and now that everybody's here, when it comes to volleyball, we're just doing equal across the board, is what I think. So in 5th and 6th, 2 equal teams, 7, 8, 2 equal teams. That first week, we'll talk a little bit, but just so that you can kind of remember this, and maybe we'll have to bring it up again, I'll probably send you an email. But, once we decide on the teams, agree with your coaching partner about what time you'll send the email that says who's on what team. Because if you send it at different times, the kids just start texting and, whatever they do, and it gets gossipy or whatever. So you just say, hey, here's our teams. let's just schedule it to send our email at 8:30 tonight. And then both goes out at the same time. Everybody gets the information at the same time. Works out well. If you don't do it that way, it just can get a little funny. Any questions about team formation or playing time, Zoom meetings, any of that stuff right now? Okay. Practice schedules. This is an important one that we got to cover. So this is what our practice schedule grid looks like. You all have, I don't know if I've shared this with everyone yet, so I got to make sure I do that. But most of you have seen this before because you coached last year. But basically, what you see here is the start times to practice. So 3:15 to 5, 5 to 6:30, and then 6:30 to 8 are the practice times. If it's other than that, like on the 4th, 8th grade is going to go 4 to 5:30 that day. If it's other than that, I'll always note it. Otherwise, it's within that practice slot. And so what we do with this is eventually we fill out the whole season. So if you look at, December here, you can see kind of what it looks like in mid-season. So these blue things mean that we are hosting a game in our gym, and the red means we can't practice at that time because we're hosting games, okay? The names down here are the names of the coaches who are playing a game that night, but they're at an away venue. So for me, it's more for me and for you to double check that we're getting the right amount of days per week. So if you look at Rowley here, he's an 8th grade coach, and he'll be an 8th grade coach for girls. He's got Monday practice. He's got a Tuesday game away. He's got a Wednesday game away and a Friday practice. So that's 4 days a week and no game Saturday, right? So he got his 4 days as an 8th grade coach. So each week we're trying to get 7th and 8th grade 4 days, 5th and 6th grade 3 days between games and practices. So this can look a little bit overwhelming. Don't be afraid to ask me a question about it as we go. But eventually what you'll do is we'll put all the games in here, and then I'll add all of your practice slots in with all the little, reminders I need to avoid volleyball practices for so-and-so and whatever. And then you'll add that into TeamSnap. And so you'll be able to enter it in the TeamSnap. Does anybody have a question about this middle school grid as we look at it? What confuses you, or what are you wondering? Brian and Allie, you guys are going to play at Evergreen, GR Christian Evergreen's gym. And so you're up here, and you're 5:30 to 7, I think was what we're going to do. That's what we agreed with. So I have to change these to 5:30, but 5:30 to 7 at Evergreen. And I'll give you a key fob to get in that building. When I see you after break, you'll get a key fob to be able to access the doors. And, you'll be playing there. There's balls there already and everything. So any questions about the grid right now from volleyball or basketball? Okay. So the next thing on our list then is TeamSnap. How many people here, by show of hands, have seen TeamSnap before or used TeamSnap before? So I think if you've coached here before in the last 2 years, you've used TeamSnap. It's great. The way that we use it best is that you get the app so that you can do things on your phone. But second, you're going to add all of the practices from the grid on here and put it into TeamSnap. That way parents get reminders. The league will load all your games in. When it comes to volleyball, we will load the match dates into your thing, and you will add the practice days in. So we will have to kind of construct that schedule, but it's the same thing. You're all going to access this grid. You're going to take the practice times and locations off of here, put them into your TeamSnap, and that way parents get reminders. You can also email through TeamSnap. So when you send your weekly parent email, which I think is the next thing on the agenda, or pretty close, is that you send that weekly parent email each week through TeamSnap to all the people on your team with the update about the week. When it comes to that parent email, you have the sheet that how to email successfully. It tells you kind of what we're looking for and what parents are used to with the emails. So this can kind of just give you some information. Once you understand it, you'll be all set. But that'll happen through TeamSnap. If people who are new to working TeamSnap, like maybe Brian or Allie, I think all of our volleyball people have used TeamSnap before, but I'm not sure. I will be talking about that a little more after we let all the returners go in a couple of minutes. Okay. So TeamSnap is very valuable and we need to use it for our parents. Our community is really used to it. Score reporting at the end of the games on TeamSnap. I'll show you real quick, just like when you click the app, I don't know if you can see this or not, or if it's acting funny. No, it's probably not loading now, of course, but so when you scroll down to the bottom, it'll say like the game that you just played and it will say edit score. So at the end of your game, you can just go down, click edit score and put in the score and that will report it to the league. If you don't do that, then I will do that. But it's always helpful with all of you playing at different places. I don't always remember who's playing what day all the time. If you can do that, it's helpful for me. Or if you can't do that, just send me a text and then I can quick do it from my phone. It's not a problem. But it is important that you help report scores to me, or at least on the app, because I get a notification every time your score goes through the app. One more thing with TeamSnap. Did everybody, I invited all of the coaches to their TeamSnap page, I think. Did everybody get their invite to that? You should have got it yesterday or today, so that you can be in charge of your team. If you didn't, please send me an email and I'll make sure that I get that taken care of. Also, when it comes to practice schedules, if there's a day where like I always work Wednesday night and I can't coach Wednesday night from this time to this time, please send me an email to let me know that so that I can try to avoid that for your team. We've already talked about issues with the league or officials. We've had some funny stuff happen this year. I believe it will start to smooth out a lot more now that we have a real person that's dedicated to this in place. But if there is problems with that, please just report them to me. Let me do my work with the league. The league always appreciates it a lot more, as you can imagine, when the athletic directors work together rather than everybody from every team in the league shooting stuff out at the league. So just work with me if something comes up. You don't have to confront it in the moment. Just work with me. Let me know if something weird happens. Kid knocks his head on something or whatever. Let me know that. Or something weird happens with a fan. We had a fan one time in soccer this year. Jim Boss got cornered by 2 opposing fans because we won. And so it's just a weird thing. And if something like that is, let me know right away. Something I want to make sure that I'm connecting with the league about, so we do a good job with it. When it comes to uniforms, I will help you pass out uniforms in your second week of the year after team formation before your first game. For volleyball, we have all the sizes set. So Laura last year, I think, put together an order for the 5, 6, 7, 8. Just get me the invoice and I will make sure that I pay that. But you guys, I'll leave it to volleyball to take care of all of that. When it comes to snow days, it's an automatic cancel, as most of you know. Whether it's practice or games, it's automatic cancel no matter what it looks like later. Initial communication. What I would like to have us do is that Scott will send the initial communication for 8th grade. That Steve will send the initial communication for 7th grade. You've done that a million times. I'd love it if you could do that for us, Steve. 6th grade, I'll work that out with whoever we put in that spot. And then in 5th grade, it would be great if Lizzie could send the first email, because she sent a few of these as a head coach of basketball and other sports too, where Brian hasn't done that yet. And so what I'd encourage you to do is reach out to your coaching partner. For volleyball, Laura can send an email. Jeremy, you could probably send one. You did a lot of communication last year too, so you could kind of send one on behalf of the 7th and 8th grade coaches. But talk to your coaching partner and get some information about them so that you can kind of welcome people and let them know what's going on. I want all of you to know that due to the goofiness of Christmas break and us starting right after, tomorrow I'm going to be sending a big summary email to all of your parents. And in it, it's going to say that sometime next week, you guys will be emailing them to touch base with information about the first week of the year, kind of before the holidays start, right? That week between the holidays is always kind of crazy, and then we're right back at it. So in the email for volleyball and basketball, I'm going to be telling them to look for an email from their coach sometime next week with information about starting the season in that first tryout week. Is that good for everybody? I want you to know, and you'll get that email too, but I just want you to know that I'm sending that out. And then that gives you some time next week to get that email put together, talk to your coaching partner about things you want to communicate, and then get that out. All right. Any questions from returning coaches that are here right now? Anything that I missed that you think is important that I cover? Steve, you come to a lot of these. Did I miss anything? No? Good.
Only thing I would say, Kevin, is just midway through the year, and I don't think it was unique to volleyball, just kids running around, sometimes at games, kids upstairs. We had some broken tiles. We had lots of stuff left where, if volleyball was last, just remind all coaches to kind of do a gym check. Leave it as nice as it was when you got there so that whoever does the latest practice isn't cleaning up all the trash and all the whatever in the gym, and make sure our kids are supervised game days and otherwise.
Yes, no, that's very true. And second, as I think about that, don't leave kids in the school. If you have to go, we need to wait with kids. We can't just leave kids sitting in the school by themselves at night. So yeah, volleyball will have to set up and take down nets each night. We can't leave them out, obviously. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out, David. I appreciate it. Anybody else? Okay, I said you'd be done by 7. It is 6:59. So all of you who are returning coaches, you may head out of here. If you are a new head coach, it'd be great if you could stay on, and we'll cover a couple of these things in a little more detail for you. But returning, like new head coaches, new to head coaching, please stay on, and we'll go the next 15 minutes and cover a few things. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thanks, Kevin. See you, everybody.
Colin, you may stay if you'd like. You don't necessarily have to stay.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask your preference from that standpoint.
It's totally up to you. You're kind of on as an assistant. Scott knows all of this stuff. If you want to read through this on your own and ask me some clarifying questions at church or wherever you see me next, or call me,
Perfect.
that's fine. But as not being a head coach, it's okay if you just kind of browse it.
Sounds good, my friend.
Okay, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Take care. Appreciate you.
Yep, thanks.
Yep, bye-bye.
So Brian, are you there?
I am here, yes.
Okay. And Allie, good to see you. You look quite cozy on the couch there. Allie is going to be, Brian, I told you that Allie was going to be coaching with you, but we ended up making a switch. Lizzie Voss is going to be coaching 5th grade with you. And Allie is going to be going up to the 8th grade.
Thank you.
So I think Ben just plugged in here on Adeline's phone, maybe. Is that correct? Not sure. But so anyway, first of all, Brian and Allie, any questions from what I've covered so far, something you want to make sure that we talk about?
From my perspective, it looks all good, very thorough, and I don't really have any questions. I'll definitely go through and study it, but it seemed top of mind. Everything that I could think of was in there. So well done putting it together.
Okay, so yeah, that big thing, like I would say for people who are in a first time coaching here situation, if you know this information and can hit these marks, this is developed not because I think it's a good idea, but because over the last 8 years, I've figured out what parents want to know and have set a culture of what parents expect to get. And so that's it's kind of like a cheat sheet, right? Like if we can do these things, you're going to start with trust. Okay. And so that's kind of why we do this meeting, to make sure that everybody who comes on board knows what is kind of expected by parents. They're used to certain things. And so we want to hit that mark. Otherwise, they're going to start asking you all these questions that come on here. And so we've covered a lot of this. The playing time thing is important for a new coach to figure out. Does anybody have any questions about that? Brian as a 5th grader, Allie as an 8th grade coach. Any questions about playing time stuff?
No.
Okay. We're trying to win. Okay. It's not our number one goal, but we are trying to win, right? We want to be strategic. The best coaches are brilliant strategists as well. And so you want to be good with your lineups. Brian, in fifth grade, when there isn't as much time in the game, you have to be pretty strategic about how you're doing your lineups to keep good players out there more often so that you're competitive. You know, some
Yep.
people do 5 and 5s. And you can sub 5 for 5, but you know, that's kind of up to you and the strength of your team. But certainly making sure that all the kids, like the kids that aren't as good, like my son Jake is a student with autism, he likes basketball, he'll play on the team next year. I want him to play with some of the better players because they can actually set him up and help him play, right? So everybody, no matter you're the best or the worst player, wants to play with the good players, which means automatically that the good players have to play more often. And so don't be afraid of that, right? Don't be afraid to play the better players more and rotate the other kids in, because they're going to have more success when they play with the better players, you know, to set them up. So that's part of it too. In fifth grade, we're doing equal. Team Snap is really the place where I want to make sure that you all understand how Team Snap works. So let me move this. Okay, it's teamsnap.com. You guys are still seeing my screen, aren't you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, Kevin,
Did either of you use this?
I've used it just as a parent, but it's pretty straightforward. I've seen other similar things.
Yeah. So I'll just show you like your page a minute. I'm gonna do a different screen share. This is acting really slowly. But so Team Snap. This is usually what I get the most questions on for our new coaches. Is just operating, making sure they're doing this the right way.
Mhm.
So under here, my teams, we'll go to Allie's team. And so this will be the only thing that comes up on yours, but you're now in control. As a parent, you're really not. You just kind of use it as an information source. But as a coach, it's quite a bit different. Under the schedule, this is where you're going to do most of your work. And then under this messages tab here. So like when you schedule your first event, this comes up and you're just going to name it like practice. You don't have to put in the first week because we don't have teams, so nobody's going to see the first week, if that makes sense. Once you make your teams, then you're going to load your practices in so that people that are actually on your roster can see your practices. So, and then you do date. So like if we look at the practice schedule grid, I think one of Allie's next days would be, so let's just say that her practice is on January 9. And then you use the middle school practice grid to look for your practice. And then you put it in here. Let's say it starts at 3:15. So 3:15, the location, you're going to find Grand Rapids Christian Chesaning. That's our gym here. For you, Brian, it would be, I don't know if we have Evergreen. Oh, Rosewood. So that's what you would pick for that one. And so you'll choose that one and say it's at Evergreen. And you might even want to put in here Evergreen, just so people remember that extra label, like GRC Evergreen, just so they get used to it. But you pick the location. And then under here, you're going to pick how long. So you always just do 1 hour and 30 minutes or whatever. And then you just hit save and create another, and you can just put in all of your practices that I schedule for you on the middle school practice schedule grid. The games automatically go in. Does that make sense for how to do that? And then you just go in and edit it too. It's really simple. When it comes to messages, this is where you email. And the beauty of this is all of the people on your roster will automatically get this information. And so you can pick between emails and alerts which are important to know the difference. Emails are just like an email function that you're used to. The alert is like a one-way blast, meaning no one can respond to it. You're going to click emails, and that's where you'll send your first email, and you put in your subject, and then you're going to use that sheet that I have in your packet that says how we email. And that's how you're going to write your weekly emails in here. And then at the bottom, before you send it, it'll ask you to select all of the players, and you can just do select all. So all of the contacts under each player will get this email. And then you push send and it's good to go. So that's how you can run your email function, how you do your scheduling through here. And that's really the main function. A lot of parents will use the text function. Brian, you've probably experienced that as a parent. If you're able to pay attention to that, it's a nice way for people to ask you a quick question or for you to get some quick information back and forth. So that's kind of the main way that we do this. And it's mostly going to happen through here, through your phone. So get that app on your phone and you should be good to go. Any questions about TeamSnap?
Nope.
Okay. The last thing that we will go over is these final few items in here. And again, browse through this, make sure that you're understanding all the things in here. I am always clear with the coaches that if you have a problem with officials and you're gonna yell at officials and make your energy be about officials, then I'm going to release you from coaching. Because our kids need so much help that the officials really have no part of that. If you're coaching officials, you're not coaching our kids. And we also need to set an example to our parents and all of the students that what matters is us coaching our kids, not the official, not what's happening at the score table or any of that. It's us coaching kids. And so please make sure that we focus on that and stay away from the officials. Obviously, you can ask them questions, but if you're going to repeatedly have issues like some of these other coaches you're going to run into with the officials, that's just not a way that we put Christ on display, is to be barking at officials all the time. So we want to make sure we coach our kids. So please make sure you focus on our kids. The thing I have here with injury reporting, I don't need to know about cuts and bruises or whatever. There are Band-Aids in my office if your kid needs a Band-Aid. But if somebody bumps a head or gets a bad injury of some kind, let me know. We often do an incident report, because if the family ever goes to the emergency room or something, the injury report helps the insurance function correctly. And so if there's a big injury of some kind, like a bad ankle or an eye gets poked and they had to go to the hospital, or a head bounces into a wall or something, let me know about that stuff so that I can help with the paperwork side of it. But other than that, we've got materials up here. Transportation, Brian, as a parent, you can kind of get away with this, where you can take kids because you're a parent. You can wear your parent hat and do that. But as a coach, Allie, we don't want you driving kids anywhere. If there's some kind of situation that arises where you're stuck out at ABVM in Rockford and there is a parent coming, I want you to call me and I'll help you problem solve that situation. I just don't want you to get caught in a situation where you're driving students around. Brian, that's not really an issue for you, because as a parent, you're allowed to drive as many kids as fit in your car. We can't restrict that.
Okay.
And if people ask, number one, kids cannot stay at school if they have a late practice. So this is a question that we will get. So like your practices, Brian, are always 5:30 to 7. The kids have to go home and then they have to be brought back. They can't stay. There's no like daycare or childcare, or there's nobody that can do that. So it's always good to remind parents, especially 5th grade parents, that they got to go home and they have to be brought back. And that's slightly inconvenient, but at the same time, there isn't any other way we can do it. And we also don't provide transportation to any of our events. And so Allie, with your group as 8th graders, you're going to have some kids from Rockford Christian on your team. You're never going to practice at 3:15. So your kids are just going to have to be used to going home after school and getting brought back for your 5 or 6:30 practice in that situation. So it is good to just remind parents of that. If you make a note of that when you talk to them, just remind them of that. Maybe in that Christmas break first email, we remind people of that, just so that they're starting to think about it. if you're having trouble with your kids getting picked up on time, please let me know. I can talk to the parents about that and see what we can figure out. I don't want you staying at practice for an hour and a half or 30 minutes or 20 minutes afterwards. You guys have enough things to do. And so please let me help you if we're having trouble with kids getting picked up. We did talk about snow days. And then just working with me, this is your first time kind of officially working with me. If you have an emergency situation or something that needs to be answered right now, please call me on my phone. If I get a call from you, I'm like, okay, something's going on and I got to pick it up, right? If it can wait till tomorrow or it's something I need to work on, you can send me a text. If it's just like a thing for me to just, quick, maybe respond to you, but it's not urgent, just send me a text. If it's something I can work on, like, hey, I need these practices switched, or it looks like I'm going to be going out of town, or is it possible for me to switch days with this person? Just send me an email because I'm on my email all day long and I will get to it right away in the morning. But again, if you need something from me now, call me right away and I'll answer it every time, or call you back very shortly after. That's just a signal to me that you need something now. Like Brian, if the door isn't opening and the fob doesn't work, that's an immediate call, right? Like that's a problem we got to fix now. Something like that. So any questions about how to work with me, connect with me, or any of the things we covered today?
Hey, one question I've got, Kevin. You were talking about the club situation.
Yeah.
Do parents disclose that, or is there any way to know that as part of the kind of team selection process? Or when do you discover the club conflicts?
It's a great question, Brian. I think the best thing to do is so you'll send an email next week, that kind of says, hey, we're the coaches. Here's what we're gonna be doing in the first week, starting on the 3rd. We're gonna meet this day, and this day at GRC Evergreen at this time. As we plan our practices, it's important in make our teams, it's important for us to know if there's gonna be any consistent conflicts, like you play on a soccer team or you play on a volleyball team or something like that. If you know that, please let us know as soon as possible because it helps us with our team formation. So if you put that in the email, and then maybe on the 30th, like that Friday before we come back, or even on the 2nd, a lot of parents will be checking their email on the 2nd, trying to get ready for the 3rd, If you send another email with a reminder, people will be pretty quick to let you know that. So if you just request that, people typically get it back to you pretty quick because we want to make sure we don't have 6 girls that have a conflict on the same team because then we don't have a game, right? We can't have a game.
Yep.
So yeah, way to think ahead on that. I just usually encourage people to ask that.
Yep, makes sense.
Yep, good question. Anything else?
Not for me.
Okay, well, it is now 7:16. I'm 1 minute past those 15 minutes that I promised you. So try to be on time for everybody. I appreciate having you on our coaching team. As things come up, I will be emailing you in the next couple of days as a reminder of kind of what to do over Christmas break. And then you'll also see that email from me to all of our basketball parents, letting them know of what to expect from the coaches. So those are a couple things you'll see from me over the next couple of weeks. And you've all got my phone number or my email. You can connect with me at any time. And I'm here to partner with you and make things go well for you. So please let me know how I can do that. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Allie.
See ya.
See ya.
This is just I just have a conflict for the first week.
Okay.
I'll be in Colorado till the 4th of January.
Wednesday.
Yeah, because my school doesn't start till the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're coming
but,
back on the 4th.
yeah, I think I should be back. My flight lands at 2 something.
Okay.
And I just have to drive back.
Where does your flight land?
It's in Grand Rapids, but my car will be in Holland, so I have to go to Holland and then come back.
What? You got to plan better, Allie. That's crazy. What is
Well,
that?
because we're driving to Colorado but flying back. Because we're going because my boyfriend's family lives in Holland.
Okay.
So then we're driving there and then flying back.
Okay.
So that's why it's all weird.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me see. On Wednesday the 4th or the 5th, you will practice at 6:30, so you should be good for that. So you'll just miss the first day.
Okay. So
I
it's
mean,
6
maybe you can
starts on the
make the
4th?
end of that, right? Maybe you can make it to the end of that, the 4 to 5:30 time on the 4th.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could possibly make it. It would just be,
And if you're late, you're late. If you can't make it, you can't make it. Just let the coaches know what to expect, right? You'll want to just let them know so that they're understanding of what's going on. But let them know you'll be there for sure on the 5th.
is the tryouts on the 4th and the 5th, or does it?
Yeah, it's a 2 to 3 day tryout. So for sure we would have the 4th and 5th.
Okay,
And if you guys needed one more day to iron it out, that would be the 6th.
okay,
Yeah. Okay.
perfect.
But I think because we have kids coming from other schools, you guys, neither 8th grade team is going to practice before 5 o'clock. Unless it's like a 4 o'clock start like that.
Yeah,
If we have the gym space to do a 4 to 5:30, we'll do it. But yeah, so I think in that sense, makes it a little easier for practices because they'll all be kind of later. Even if you're working at your stuff during the day, you should likely be done, to get to a practice. So just let me know if your schedule comes up and there's something we have to avoid, okay?
alrighty,
If you have any other questions in the meantime, please let me know. And I will talk to you soon. Have a great Christmas.
perfect, thanks, you too.
All right, take care.
Alrighty, bye.